I gave a small definition over there, and I told there is one chapter for that. That's why I didn't take elaborately that day. So arrays, we know that time also I had explained, it is a derived data type, and it is nothing but a collection of elements. Collection of elements. I had given a definition. You remember? It is a collection of elements of same data type. Collection of elements of same data type, right? And it is given adjacent memory locations, adjacent memory location in the memory, and it is having a fixed size. So we will be studying in this chapter only about the fixed or the static array, in which the size when we declare in the beginning, it will be having the same size throughout the program. That means it is having fixed size. Arrays are having what is an array? We can tell it is, I can give you the same definition over here when I'm sending the notes. So arrays are a collection of elements of the same data type, and which is given as adjacent memory location in memory, and adjacent memory in your in the adjacent memory location, and when it is declared, it will be having a fixed size throughout the program. So you can write this also. It is a derived data type. You know what are derived data types? Derived data types are those data types which are derived from the primary or the fundamental data type. An array can be used to represent a list of numbers or a list of names. You know that you can have arrays, in order to store numbers or characters. I can write characters or list of characters, right? Characters, or you can have list of names also. I'll show you how to give a list of names in an array. An array enables us to give a single name to represent a collection of items. Why we are using an array? In order to store a collection of items or collection of elements with a common name. Suppose I want to store numbers 12, 24, 15, 78, 11 and 9 with a common name called number. I can use an array. So we will be using a single name to represent a collection of items. So we will learn how we are using arrays, but for the time being, you have to understand that why. So only difference or why we are going for arrays is we want to represent a collection of numbers or elements with a single name. Collection of items or elements with a single name. Got it? So here I am using a variable name called number, which is having a size 6 and which is having a data type. What is the data type? Integer data type. So this is one small example I gave. So it is a integer data type and an array of size 6 which is declared, and so I will be able to represent 6 numbers with a single name called, or with 6 elements with a single name called number. What are those 6 numbers? 12, 24, 15, 78, 11 and 9. All these can be referred with a single variable name called number. Got it? 6 numbers I can refer with a, or 6 elements items or elements can be referred with a single variable name called number, because I have declared a array. Understood? So how to access these elements from an array? So that we will learn in the next slide. So as I told here, I can either use for storing the numbers or for storing the characters. This example for numbers I have given only with the numbers. So in this array, I'll be able to store only integer numbers. And here I have given an example called or an array called name, in which I will be able to store characters, right? Characters. So I am storing a name called Steve inside an array called name. So we will learn more about character array in the few slides later. So I had explained in the first chapter, or second or third chapter, where we studied about the constants, the string constants, right? String constants are always terminated by a null character, right? So here you can see that the last cell is having a null character. I'll explain it later in the more elaborately, but still for your understanding, I'm just showing what I have kept in the slide. Even if I want to store a name of length 5, I should be declaring a variable of or an array of size 6 in order to, so that the compiler can insert a null character. That we will learn later, but I am just showing two example, one with only numbers, the other with only characters. I cannot have a mix of numbers and characters in an array. Are you all listening? I cannot have a combination of numbers and characters in an array. Either it should be used for storing the numbers. So if I am planning only to store numbers, I should be declaring it as an integer. Got it? If I am going to have fraction part, then I should be declaring it as a float array. If I am going to store only characters, means I should be declaring it as a character array. Got it? So these are the difference. So it is used, as I have given here, I had emphasized also same data type. If it is integer, I can store only. If it is declared as an integer data type, I will be able to store only integer data type. Got it? So these are the this will be the definition which you have to write. And now we will see how to access an array element. 1 second. First, we will see how to declare an array. Not this one. Declaration of an array. Array must be declared before they are used so that the compiler can allocate a space in memory. So first we saw what is an array. So I had shown you an example how to use an array. Now we will see how to declare an array. So, you know, when we were talking about functions or when we were talking about variables, we first told we should declare a variable or a function, whichever we are using in a program, so that compiler will get to know this variable is going to be used and the data type of this variable is integer. And this function is going to be used and the data type of this function is, or not data type, or the name of the function and what will be the return type, what are the arguments first, all this information the compiler will be knowing when we are declaring a function. Similarly, before using of an array, we should be declaring the array so that the compiler can get an information of what is the data type of the array and what are the elements which are supposed to be going to that array and what will be the memory space allocated for this array. You know, if I can declare a variable of any of the primary data type. What are the primary data type? Integer, character, float, right? Or you can have any of those if you want to have it as short int, long int and all. No? So all these are the primary data types. So you cannot declare a array with void. Nevin has given void. So void is basically indicating the return data type. If it is not having any return value, just to indicate that we will be using void. You cannot declare an array of void data type. Understood? I will not declare a variable also with void data type. It is only uses to indicate that there is no return value for a function. Okay, so the data type should be indicated. So as arrays are derived data type, we will be making use of primary data type to declare an array. That is obviously understood. No, we are deriving arrays from the primary data type. So we are making use of primary data type, right? So in order to declare an array, we should first indicate what should be the data type of the array. Listen here, what should be the data type of the array. So, you know, what is the benefit of writing notes? Otherwise, you will have to go and take print of the notes, and it is always helpful if you are writing notes. I'm not asking you to write any elaborate note. Small notes, 40 minutes duration class will have only 1 page of note. Okay, so that I'm telling you to write. Archana, are you there? A new student has joined, no? And she has not joined. Okay, so all those who have joined has to give an attendance and also the notes. Now, today I am very strict about the notes because most of you are joining at the end and then for namesake you are giving an attendance in the chat box. So here data type. So the way or the syntax of declaring an array is data type followed by the variable name. Variable name is nothing but our identifier, right? Followed by the size, which is given in square bracket. So what is the syntax? You have to write in your notebook. Syntax, data type. You know what is data type? What are the allowed data types or the primary data type? Integer, float, and character, right? You can either have an integer array or a float array or a character array or any of those shortened or anything. No? Those arrays you can have. And followed by the variable name. Variable name has to follow all the rules which we have studied in the variable names. No, in the first or the third chapter, no, we had studied the rules for declaring a variable. So all those should be taken care when we select a variable name, followed by the size. Listen here, size. Okay, so size indicate the maximum number of elements which can be stored in the array. Okay, size indicate the number of elements which can maximum number of elements which can be stored in the array. So these three things you have to take care. So here, when we declare, you know that we are indicating the size in square bracket. We are indicating the size in square bracket. So here is an example. I am declaring an array of array called group of integer data type, and we are having the size as 3. Size as 3. That means we will be able to store the maximum 3 elements. So when we declare an array of integer data type, what will be the, tell me who can answer such question. What will be the size of the array called group? You will be thinking, ma'am didn't tell about size of how much memory will be allocated for the array called group. Tell me, let me see who is able to answer. What will be the, I'm asking about, that is size 3. Sorry, I'm asking about what will be the memory allocation, or what will be the size of the memory allocated for Janani Abhishek answered 3, that is maximum size, that is maximum number of elements. I'm asking about the size of the memory which will be allocated for an integer array called group. Gautam Raj, n minus 1. No, it's not n minus 1. No, it is not 2. 2 for what? 2 bytes you are telling, Naveen? What will be? Or I'll ask one simple question.
Yes, 2.
2, what 2? 2 bytes or 2?
2, ma'am.
For an integer data type, Mehboob has answered 2 bytes.
For integer.
Janani has answered size of 3 is 6 bytes. Janani has answered correct now. That is, for when I am declaring a variable of integer data type, it will be allocated 2 bytes, right? 2 bytes. Listen here, integer data type will be allocated 2 bytes. Here, it is group is an array of integer data type, but we are allocating space for 3 integer, right? Size is 3. So each integer or an element will be allocated 2 bytes. Here it will be 2 bytes, here it will be 2 bytes, and here it will be 2 bytes. How much altogether for the group array? We will be allocating 6 bytes. Understood? So we will be able to store an integer in this group of 0, group of 1, and group of 2, right? So here, as the size of group is the name of the array which I have given. The group is the name of the array. So it is having size 3 means maximum I'll be able to store 3 integer elements. Each integer element is given 2 bytes, right? So similarly, 3 integer elements means it will be allocated 6 byte in memory. So these are the practical questions. So if you have understood what is integer, what is the size of an integer allocated, or what will be the memory size given for an integer during declaration, you can easily answer what will be the size of a array, or the memory size of the array, memory allocated to an array. Understood? So here, and one more thing I wanted to tell, during exam when I had asked operators, not operators, data types in C. What you are thinking, I'll be just giving you answer if you are just listing out and telling integer is a variable to store integer, integer data type. Some line if you are just explaining the heading, I will not give you answer, give you marks. I had given in my PPT itself, in a single PPT itself, I have shown what all you have to write. If I'm suppose you are writing about primary data type, you know, you have integer, float, character, and void. So in one line itself, I have given the whole content in integer, what all you have to write, what are the different types, at least how many bytes will be allocated. I'm not asking for the limit of numbers which we are, that is very difficult to remember and write, but I'm just asking you. That day also I had shown, so if I'm declaring a variable of integer data type, 2 bytes will be allocated, and there are we can declare integer data type as short int and long int. How many bytes will be allocated for those? Short int will be 1 byte. At least in one line you have to mention all these things. Okay, don't think that I'll be just giving you 5 marks. First writing, just putting a comment, writing integer, float, and all. That's a very goodish way of writing the exam. You are all in degree. I'm expecting more. I'm spending this much time means I should get the return also. Okay, I'm very strict in correction. Don't think that ma'am will not read. I will be reading line by line. Don't think that one para if I write, ma'am will be giving 5 out of 5. So usually university papers, they will be correcting, in PU and all, you might have seen. In a hurry, they will be just correcting, but now onwards, if I will not do like that. Even if I go for university correction, I will be reading line by line, and I'll be writing with pen what mistake you have done, or if you have copied, or if you have written the same content from my note, I'll be writing copied. Don't think that ma'am doubted me and all. I will be writing. That is for all. If I see some terms, particularly line word by word, if you have written from my note, I'll be writing copied. You should know how to rewrite in your own words. I know which are the words which you can remember and write, and which are the words which you are copying and writing. Remembering is different, copying is. Some terms which I had used exactly, which is not useful also, we'll just copy word to word. That I don't like. You should know, and I know how much you will remember if you try to remember also. So that point I will be writing copied. Okay, so here this will be 6 bytes. So this is the way how you declare an array. Now accessing array elements, and now we studied how to declare an array. And what will be the syntax of an array. Now we are going to, so we were telling a single variable name will be used in order to access or in order to store a collection of elements, right? A single variable name. Here, for example, I'll be using the single variable name group in order to access the first element, second element, and third element. So how you are making use of a single variable name to access the elements of an array, right? So an element is accessed by indexing the array name. It is accessed by indexing the array name. You know array name, but now we are going to study a new term called indexing. Indexing an array. So we didn't have that concept when we were learning about arrays, but here we are going to learn how we are going to index an array. Index a array name. So how it is done? It is done by placing the index of the element within square bracket after the name of the array. So indexing is nothing but keeping the keeping an element, keeping the index of the element in square bracket. What is indexing? Indexing of an array name is nothing but